Good afternoon, everyone. Please take your seats, and it is my really great pleasure to call Dean Lori Mullen to give her remarks.
Always. Good afternoon, everyone. What a lovely day. Welcome to all of you to this, what appears to be a very compelling conference. When I saw the title, Combating Bigotry, Celebrating Diversity and Protecting Democracy, kudos, whoever, did you come up with that, Hannah?
With the help of Bob Rook.
Okay. A group of smart people came up with that. Well, I couldn't think of a better title. So welcome to everyone. Special welcome to our guests who traveled far and wide to be here today. We are thrilled to hear from you. We're thrilled to share our beautiful campus. And by the way, folks, today is February 8th. It's 55 degrees outside. And I know some of you are happy, my two colleagues over here, but is anybody else just a little bit concerned, or is it just the snow lover that, yeah, so, okay, but it is beautiful outside. So welcome. I'd like to thank Hannah Bohr and Rebecca Shargirl for walking into my office, sitting down and talking about this conference and wanting to know if the College of Education would collaborate and co-sponsor. And I've said, of course, we would love to do so. I'd also like to thank all of the conference planning committee. These are folks who have a full-time job. It's not like they're sitting around saying, what should I do with my time? And I know from the flowers on the table to the beautiful arrangements, to food, to programming, thank you to all of you who were involved. That is in addition, above and beyond what you have to do. And I'd like to thank all the staff who are here. Teresa, I know you over there. I don't know the other two colleagues, but thank you for being here today and for helping us put forth this conference. I interviewed at Towson 8 years ago. And one of the areas I talked about in my interview, which was what are my values? And one of the statements that I made was that public education is core and central to a democracy. And I still feel that today. As a matter of fact, I feel even much more strongly about that today. The importance of education in creating and maintaining and sustaining a democracy. So when in preparation for this event, I went to read Khalid Arar's article. The article I read was Higher Ed for Forcibly Displaced Migrants, Refugees, and Asylum Seekers. My heart lifted. So with your permission, Khalid, I'm going to quote you in one of your articles, but I told him earlier, I'm going to stretch it just a little bit. And by that, I mean this. In the statement that follows, he talks about the role of higher education for displaced migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. As I read these comments, I'd like for you to think about education much more broadly. This comes from his 2020 article, page 196. One key argument about education for migrants and displaced people is that education provides a unique service that accelerates adaptation and improved life standards in the host country. Education services are particularly significant for displaced school-age populations because almost half of these demographics are of school age. In general, education is one of the key public services that act to mitigate the impact of displacement. Depriving refugees and at-risk migrants of the opportunity to pursue education will have severe implications for the future of the countries from which they have come and also for the countries that are hosting them. However, a true integration of displaced people into the economic structures of the host country is possible if they are integrated, in his words, into higher education, which I agree, I would say to the education societal fabric much more broadly. So beautifully written, Khalid, and thank you for serving that as a frame for me to welcome all of you. So again, I leave you with the power of education, parentheses, public education, as central to sustaining a democracy. Let's have a great day. Hannah and Rebecca, thank you again for the welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lori Dean Mullen, for these words. And thank you for knowing Khalid. It's amazing. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Bohr, and I'm a professor and director of the Family Studies and Community Development Department in the CLA at Towson University. The CLA is also the home for the Leadership in Jewish Education and Service programs, and for the Baltimore Hebrew Institute, who helped sponsor this symposium. I'm thrilled to welcome all of you today for a day full of learning, thinking, being challenged, motivated, and inspired. We will all find opportunities to make connections, to grow, and to unite as a community committed to making our world a better place. This symposium is a result of hard work and has been in the planning for a long time. Over 10 years ago, I was leading a Towson University study abroad to Israel, and we stopped for lunch at a remote place in the northern part of Israel near the Lebanese border. We stopped to eat and listen to a story of two sisters who were refugees from Lebanon, Lebanese refugees, and were able to escape the terror of that time and somehow made it into Israel. And very few people knew about this restaurant. So when I heard somebody saying Hannah, I didn't even turn around. And then I heard again Hannah, and I didn't turn around. And third time, voice persisted, Hannah Schulman, that's my maiden name. And this time I turn around, and here I see Tamar Ketko. She and I went to school together since we were in elementary school all the way to high school. We lost in touch, but she had the same idea as I did. She wanted to hear the story of those two Lebanese refugees, and that we met there. And that started a really beautiful partnership and friendship and collaboration after this study abroad. And we worked together. We visited every time since then. I took a group of students to Israel, to the Kibbutzim seminar, where Tamar is the head of humanities. And there I met Nimrod and Khalid, but I made him as Khalid in Hebrew. And we started a beautiful partnership and collaboration, and we brought it to Towson. This was actually pre-pandemic, and with the help of Teresa, our dear Teresa, that I couldn't do anything without in technology. We met via Skype. This was pre-Zoom, and we put together a team of researchers, both from the Kibbutzim college, and I forgot my notes because I broke my glasses, so forgive me. so I'm just talking. So we brought together a team of researchers in the Kibbutzim seminar, the largest teachers college in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and at Towson University. We started working groups, and I want to introduce, and at the end of this, we came up with a publication, a book that was published by a Routledge publication. We call it the 3 Ds, but it talks about dignity, democracy, and diversity. And many of the writers in the book are going to present today. They're not necessarily going to present what they wrote in the book, but we are all people who really care about dignity, diversity, and democracy, and we want to share our research with Towson community and students. Hopefully throughout the days, we'll have a lot of students joining us. And so I just want to acknowledge the people that present today for just a minute, and then the people who wrote the book. And before I do that, I want to do some gratitude and appreciation to 3,000 university deans. Dean Chris Cholos, who from the beginning supported our effort and supported and sponsored this symposium. Dean Laurie Mullen, sorry, and then Dean from the College of Education, and then Dean Susanna Yunkel from the library. So thank you for all three of you for supporting, for being here. I want to thank Jill Matz, the director of the Baltimore Hebrew University, the Baltimore Hebrew Institute, for her help and support and sponsorship, and the beautiful flowers you see on the table. She made it. She bought it and bring it and did it. And I want to thank Diane Siegel, the coordinator of Baltimore Hebrew Institute. Diane did a whole lot for this symposium. For you all know about Diane because she emailed you and text you and everything. She helped with the food. Teresa was in charge of the food, and Andrew on the technology. So thank you, Diane and Andrew and Teresa. And then I want to thank all the presenters, which I will introduce in a second. All of you, we have here a lot of faculty from College of Education and College of Liberal Arts, and professionals from the library. And we have staff. Thank you for coming. And I'm excited that students will be here throughout the day, and some community guests. So thank you all. And my best thank you is to my husband, Dr. Eyal Bor, who is sitting here. In advance, he will play music later on tonight with an accompaniment. He's going to be a moderator, and he was driving the guests back and forth from Towson to Columbia and everything. So thank you. Okay. So let's see who are the people that wrote the book and will present here. So Dr. Bob Rook from the College of Education, myself from the College of Education, Linda Orvax, the chair of the Family Studies and Community Development, and Diane Keegan. They're not presenting today, but they're here and they have the co-written a chapter. Thank you. We also have Cole Riley, and Mabina. Hi, Mabina. You're not presenting, but we're happy, thrilled to have you here with us. We have Liane Song. Liane, she worked with two Israelis and two Israelis and one from China, right? So they were a team. They have a team of 4, real collaboration. Thank you for presenting today, Liane. Nimrod Aloni, Professor Nimrod Aloni. Professor Tamar Ketkau, Professor Khalid Arar, colleagues from Israel. Khalid, you don't see yourself as Israeli anymore, so University of Texas, but welcome as both. So they represent the Israeli team. Ashley Todd Diaz, Dr. Ashley Todd Diaz, and Joyce Grzinski from the library. They will present soon, and they have a chapter in the book. Not in the book, but I'm so happy that are here is Dr. Jones Eversley from the College of Liberal Arts. And unfortunately, Gilda Martinez Alba was supposed to present, but her sister-in-law passed away yesterday, so she's not going to be here. but we have her presentation available. It's amazing. So thank you, everybody. And without further ado, I'm going to call Professor Khalid Arar to give his presentation now. As he's coming up, I'm going to briefly introduce him. Professor Arar is a professor and a program chair at Texas State University. He is an expert in educational policies, community leadership, refugees, migrants, social equity, and diversity. Dr. Arar is a member of the doctoral faculty in school improvement at Texas State University. He was awarded honorary professor of international studies and presidential scholarly excellence award for 2022. For the past 2 decades, he conducted studies in the Middle East, Europe, and the US. His joint book, Higher Education in the Era of Migration, Displacement, and Internationalization, was awarded as best book by the Comparative and International Education Society. I looked it up because he sent me a very humble bio. So I looked it up and I saw that he authored over 400 articles and 17 books. So you did not include it in the introduction, but I have to tell everybody. So he is very well accomplished, and I'm so happy to have my friend Khalid here. Welcome.
So yeah, I just started to thank you for the invitation and the deep hospitality. So this is what it takes to welcome refugees. So, and from there, I wanna try in this short keynote to share with you firsthand collected data from different universities in the globe, starting from Turkey towards Germany, Sweden, and some universities also in Canada. And this is also based on an extensive research in this topic in the following few years. So in looking at the refugees as a phenomena, so I couldn't use better than the words of Hannah Arendt, who tried to reimagine the deficit thinking of perceiving the people and move phenomena globally. So in looking into this topic, we needed also to look at the geography of war agenda. And now war is taking, place mainly in Ukraine and in other, spaces in the world. And there are different effects, including the topic that I'm going to speak about. This is one. And two, what is the global response towards this phenomena? How we react? Are we welcome? Are we up to the task of welcoming displaced, desperate people, or we are xenophobic? And dealing with this as a challenging, uncontrolled problem. While doing so, I will take you throughout the main terms in looking at this phenomena, and this differentiation is needed when we speak about refugees. Then I will take you through the pathway of refugees into education and higher education, because when this phenomena has been taking place 20 years ago, we could see up to 1% students at higher ed, because education has been not being provided in the K-12, so we couldn't see them in higher ed. While with all the proactive policy that happened mainly in Germany, this number went up to 3.6% of students, in higher ed coming from refugees background. So what are the main challenges there? What are the main responses and the programs? So I would like specifically to concentrate on defining what I call them atypical students, because they are atypical students, and what are their challenges and needs and the strategies that they're in terms of response, the macro response, national response, and institutional response in opening pathways to refugees. And of course, what are the forced migrants dynamic globally? If you look at the at this global outlook of people on move or migration trends, we are speaking about, and the numbers are going high towards 282 people on move in the world. And we need to differentiate between migrants, immigrants, displaced, asylum seekers, and refugees. So where like international students are located among these people in move. And also it's very important to say that there are missing numbers. Like I can say for definite that like a country like Turkey documented 4.2, while actually they have more than this from both Syria, the Balkans, and recently from Afghanistan. So how this global crisis is happening and what are the responses? And we come up with the first question: who creates the war agenda, and then where it takes place? Is it in the global south or global north? And how different nations respond to this? And are we up to the task of fostering, welcoming, and inclusion and deep hospitality? As far as to the main terms that we need to differentiate between. So a refugee is at the first place a displaced person. This is where it started. And anybody is displaced, so he's leaving a whole, history, narrative, memories, etc., and moving, then seeking asylum in other nation. Then if this asylum is recognized, then becomes refugees. So we are speaking about forced migrants, and some of them often are undocumented. So looking into this transition as a one phenomena, I think is a big mistake. And then what are the theoretical lens that we imply on this regard? So we need to look at these people as forced to leave and not active migrants. So this comes out of constrained choice and not an active and proactive choice of life betterment. So the theories that we used in looking to this phenomena is trauma resources, different past legal definitions, and of course the conceptual lens are part of human rights and social justice, where we have the pre-migration, migration, and post-migration lens that rest upon recognition, redistribution, and representation. So theoretically, these are the main lens that directed us so far in looking at this phenomena, both in the macro state level and in the micro level. And of course, the impact that this phenomena this phenomena is impacted, different. Like if I look at the policy that Turkey implies, like an open door policy, with then people ended in deprived areas and in marginalized areas. So they became a burden for already weak populations and weak communities, where in countries that this was like a proactive policy of organized moves, where you could see in Germany, like in Una district, where they are more of welcoming towards refugees with a good background, people were more like welcomed and integrated in community and society. So this story started 2015, and upon then I edited this volume about refugees in the globe, collected data from Austria, Canada, Czech, Germany, Holland, Iceland, Israel, Italy, Kenya, Palestine, Turkey, and the United States. And of course, we collected, authors from all the forward corners, continents. And then one of our publications was this book, where in the first book, we looked more at the challenge. And then, okay, it is painful, but what we are going to do with this? So what is the hope there? What we can do with this? What are the frameworks and programs in place that can be invitational and, of course, integrating refugees? So in this book, we try to scan different programs globally, welcoming policies in different institutions of higher education. So it starts from traversing boundaries, borders, and of course, moving in different zones, and how this is, what is the global react and the different reacts to the phenomena. I can say that in 2015, when I was collecting data about refugees, I've been interviewing a Syrian woman. She is a civil engineer, educated in Syria first, and then she gained her master's degree in Germany. And in her move from Syria to Turkey, she got her husband killed by ISIS. And she continued to move with her daughter, where she got stuck in Turkey, and the Turkey government never gave her to continue to Germany. And she ended up as a teacher. She never been a teacher. She didn't want to be a teacher, and she wanted to move to Germany. So listening to her story, I was, as a human being, devastated. I couldn't continue this interview. Even I couldn't, and I started to ask, what is the essence of this research? Why do I need, to make this research at first place? And then I ended up 3 days just eating some soup just to maintain myself. I couldn't, do anything about it. Then a Turkish colleague invited me to go and visit Jalaluddin Rumi's tomb, where we spent 2 days of silence, listening to music and water. And I quote the following quote on Jalaluddin Rumi's tomb: "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come, come." So I couldn't find a better representation of a deep welcoming and hospitality as I could see in this quote, and not in academic, books, or in the what I used to call in the last 2 years, the boutique of equity and social justice, where people speak about social justice, but listen to it. So how we practice welcome, how we encounter otherness, and the refugees if they come in our shores. What are the macro perspectives and the framing of this global dimensions. What are the world reaction to this, and what are the consequences of refugee and influx? As you can see in this paper, I scanned all the scholarship that published in this topic in the last 40 years. And I tried to understand what were the main questions, what are the challenges that are expelled in these papers, and what are the programs there. And luckily this work has been published in the British Education Research flag journal. And throughout this, here are some of the findings I want to share with you. So the most tackled topic was the issue of welcoming policy, then integration, then xenophobia, and then future orientation and aspiration, and of course, education acquisition as a tool, a mobilizer tool on the issue of higher ed and integration up to acculturization. So you can see, what are the main foci topic that were there. In terms of reception policy, I tried to divide this reception policy into one, state level and legislation, which is like the macro policy, how it looks like in the US, Australia, Europe, Middle East. Isn't an open door or selective or proactive as in Germany. And what are the legislations there? So, and then as far as to access to higher education in the meso level, proactive policy, opening the gates for refugee students, like in Germany or Canada, or reactive rejection policies, as we could see, and what are the measures that, taken by academic institution to expand access, and of course, accreditation to gain access, both Germany, Turkey, Australia, and other countries. So which barriers in refugees access pathways that we found in this research? I want to look along with you into the access policy of the following countries, and the reason why I choose this country, because they are dealing with the issue of refugees. So if we look to Bangladesh in South Asia, so they see this as a control the crowd. So Myanmar's Rohingya refugee out of sight of mind, or Mexican in North America avoid the problem, or Morocco in North Africa face the problem to save the face. Jordan in the Middle East advance higher ed opportunities, work with funders to even the playing field. I can tell you, for example, following the war in Iraq, one of the countries that tended to privatization of higher education and hiring, Iraqi professors, in a private contract of 6 months up to 8 months was Jordan. So Jordan increased, its higher education, like access to higher education, especially for international students, and especially in postgraduate programs, because of the war that's taking place, around. And of course, they could, cultivate different funds from both the globe and other, Gulf countries to make this happen and gain some benefit out of the whole dynamic. Germany, on the other hand, as a country, like a Western country, it capitalized the opportunity and of course leads a model for higher ed integration despite social tensions. And we can see that there was a shift in Germany in terms of access to higher education for refugees and displaced, going up from 1.6% up to 6%, of the students' body came from refugees. So why these 5 cases? What we can learn out of these 5 cases, as they are different in dealing with the plight of refugees. And we choose these countries as we want to learn, both the policy, the process, and the consequences that taking place in these countries, as I just expressed. So refugees cannot take as a monolithic. When we look now to what's going, the Ukrainian refugees compared to the Afghanis, and how the world react, to these two phenomena, we have, different types of actions. When we look at African, moving to the West, so there is another type of actions up to hypocritic, actions. So, I want to take you in a very short look at the Syrian and Afghani refugees into Turkey, and what were the pulling and pushing, factors in these fluids of displaced flu, and how also the Turkish Academy got some benefits out of Syrian professors, despair and moving, because their academy, the Syrian academy, has been destroyed, and also it also affected the whole dynamic, geopolitically, historically, culturally, and of course legally. And these were the trends in Turkey in this regard. And you can see how the size of the flu affected the Turkish Academy in terms of numbers of students, professors, etc. And also we now witnessing also as far as the contribution to research and making impact, in terms of publications, etc. So there is a gain. They are they are doing something with these gains up to the level of using it. So I know that I have 5 minutes, so I want to concentrate this 5 minutes on system of support for both, in macro level and institutional level, and what different organizations are doing, in this regard, in terms of access pathways programs, supporting and both providing refugees for a work and study programs, and of course different mentoring programs for mental health that are carrying on different institutions. The support system, when it is manifested and coordinated synergetically between the legislative form of support and the institutional form with donors and different third parties and stakeholders, organizations, increased the likelihood of refugees access and success pathways into higher ed. And of course, these programs are comprehensive and substantial in this regard. We could see, a very lovely programs are taking care, happening in North America. And as you can see, here are the organizations that are handling this issue and trying to make, from this, global burden as an accelerator of a greater impact on refugees, higher ed, throughout different learning programs, supporting system in place, both, in terms of resources, economics, mental health, and etc. And also, it's very important to speak also about the societal level and the community level of welcome, where it takes, changing a whole discourse, to better welcome other disparate people of refugees background. And okay, I see that Hannah is, so first, we need to look to the issue of documentation, because when it is done as it is done in Turkey, it's worse. Like this lady that I presented, nobody documented that she is a civil engineer. Nobody documented that. When it is not documented, nobody gonna use her talent. So this is one. Two, the issue of credit transfer. We saw in Australia that they asked, a professor if he can provide his credential. So he's been in a physics library for 2 years, and he proven that he is a professor, in practice. So the issue of credit transfer, the issue of language, finance, and of course, here are some of the dilemmas that I want to leave us with. Placement, where, when, in which communities. If we want to welcome, we cannot send these people, to provide and align and exclusionary like communities, weakened communities. The issue of coordination. Now, what is going on in Turkey and Syria, because of the earthquake, coordination is key, because sometimes you needed people get more, and sometimes, we don't get to other people. The issue of sustainability. It's not just, okay, welcoming and that's it. It needs to be sustained. And the societal discourse around the issue of welcoming and integration. So thank you. I know that I rushed the last part, but you can always look at some of the publications around. It's not just me. I mean, there are different people that are doing very good work in this regard, and there's a whole community that speaks high of, of this place. And I want to end up with, referring to what just opened is how we can take the current challenge that's happening, in Ukraine, and also with the earthquake, just, happened in the last 3 days, and ask about our role as educators. The role of public education in building citizenship, the role of our higher education institutions in reconstruction of civil and democratic society. Thank you very much.